going on?
Well, scenes fresh from yesterday. I'm sure will live long in the memory for Freddie Slater, but he has to focus again ahead of race 2 coming up this weekend to close out the Spa weekend in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, with conditions now stabilising at 11 degrees in the air, the track temperature at 18 degrees, humidity at 72%. It's fallen a bit since qualifying, of course, this morning. And of course, speaking of qualifying, it's Rashid Al Dahiri who starts on pole position on the left of your screen, as you can see, from the light blue Yas Heat livery. That is going to be joined by Kanato Lay on the front row. His first front row of this season. And of course, the first front row, well, for both of these drivers, it was Rashid Al Dahiri's first ever pole position here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, as he now looks set to carry on after a decent spell at Misano that saw him pick up some steady results, including a podium finish in Misano's race 1. But elsewhere, Enzo Dellini, despite his efforts, he will start on the second row, lined up alongside Hayu Yamakoshi. And quite the contrast for young Freddie Slater, who, despite the victory on day 1 in race 1, of course, finishing 14th, coming out off the back of the qualifying session this morning, starting 14th on the grid after achieving 7th in his group. Let's run you through the full starting grid with Rashid Al Dahiri starting on pole for the first time, as we've said, with Kanato Lay on the front row alongside him on the second grid spot, with Enzo Dellini on the second row in third, Hayu Yamakoshi for Van Amersfoort in fourth, and then comes later on down the list, we have Akshay Bora, Taito Kato, along with Giovanni Maschio, also Jin Nakamura incidentally starting fifth, Dion Gauda in 9th with Enzo Peugeot 10th, Jack Beaton from the Gold Coast, Australia 11th, Tim Gerhards in 12th for Santalok Racing. We then move further down, Dorian Pan with a very decent qualifying session on her part on her return from F1 Academy. She lines up alongside teammate Freddie Slater, who starts 14th. Michael Belov on his return to the championship for 15th place goes his way for the CL Motorsport team. Matteo De Parlo in 16th place. Aditya Kulkarni 17th alongside Ruiki Liu for Trident. We then move down into 19th place for Rui Heng Ye for RPM, Nikita Bedrin and Santalok 20th. Sakir Al-Mawshari, who brought out the red flag in qualifying yesterday and led to the times not being recorded. He starts 21st for Axel, then comes Edward Borgner, who had a few spins in qualifying this morning. Maceo Campietto on his return to the championship for CL, he starts 23rd. Yaroslav Vasalaho in 24th for Santalok. Arthur Goethe for G4 Racing in 25th. Nanavud Bir and Bakhti for Trident in 26th, found himself in the barrier, along with Pedro Clero and Evan Gilter, who all had their times deleted due to causing the red flag in qualifying 2. But they did go out, and afterwards it did lead to Rashid Al Dahiri going fastest and taking that pole position. Great news for Prema as well, who look to continue their rampant record in this series and here at Spa as well, having won every race since 2023, where of course Rafael Camaro would win 3 of them, Andrea Kimi Antonelli winning 1 of them, and of course Freddie Slater winning yesterday. But things are going to be a little bit more difficult for Slater this time around, but a great chance here for Rashid Al Dahiri to enter his name into the win column in what could be our 4th different race winner here this weekend, because there are plenty of cars, or certainly those that have already won. They're certainly going to find it very difficult, with Matteo De Parlo starting 16th on the grid. Freddie Slater, the highest of the winners so far, currently sat in 14th. And remember, because Evan Gilter was part of that red flag contingent following Pedro Clero and Nandavid Biran-Bakhti into the barrier coming out of campus, his time was deleted, so therefore he starts from the very back of the grid. 28 cars, of course, going racing here this weekend at the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine ahead of race 2 here this weekend. But also, if we look across the grid, great opportunities here elsewhere for the likes of Enzo Dellini, who finished on the podium in P3 yesterday as well. Had every chance to go for the race win until he was displaced by Freddie Slater. Some great toing and throwing between those two. Of course, later on, did witness a second place. Yet another podium for Matteo De Parlo. That's 3 podiums in 3 races for the young Italian. But again, like I said, very different set of affairs here this time. Decent qualifying as well for Tim Gerhards as well, finishing 12th, or starting 12th ahead of this race coming up after finishing 6th in his group. And lining up for Santalok Racing, having had a difficult start to the season back at Portimao with essentially two retirements, no points scored at all, and most notably was the clutch issue at the start of race 1 that meant that he could not get off the line ahead of the formation lap. So hopefully he's going to be looking forward to a better race start again this time, as now the pit crews and the team members now leave the circuit and will rejoin the rest of their teams in the pit lane. It's now going to be down to the drivers to do the rest with the formation lap to take us through before we get started ahead of this second race to bring a closure to the Belgian weekend. Of course, only our second round in a long championship journey that will next take us to Zandvoort after this, before we then head to Budapest, Le Castellet, Imola, Spielberg, Barcelona, Hockenheim, and then the season finale at Monza to bring an end to the season, as it so traditionally does. So is it going to be the case that we will indeed see our 4th different race winner here this season? Rashid Al-Dahiri leaves his first place grid spots as they undertake the formation lap. And the final opportunity for the drivers to ensure that they have their tyres up to an optimal level before we do go green ahead of our final race of the weekend. RPM with a great chance as well, with the cars in their own right, positioned in all the right places. Enzo Peugeot, who is the recipient of the Rising Car Award, the Pirelli Rising Car Award back at Misano. And looking forward to every opportunity to perhaps even pulling off some greater overtakes this time at Spa. Of course, the opportunities that could lie in wait are plentiful, given the width of the track and also the variance in the cornering and elevation. And obviously higher variances than Misano that, of course, we experienced in race 1, where still Enzo Peugeot was pulling them off left, right and centre, eventually leading to being the recipient of the award. Our highest placed rookie, just to let you all know at home as well, is Dion Gouda, who managed to achieve a rookie win also in our first race yesterday. So looking to come back again and maybe doing it twice in a row. His closest contest will come from Tim Gerhards, who starts from P12. So 3 places down from Gouda. Obviously Gouda representing the Van Amersfoort team, who have done exceptionally well with young talents in the past, and have a great driver by the name of Pedro Cleiro. But of course, after the incident in qualifying, meaning that certainly Cleiro will be starting from the back row of the grid alongside Evan Gilter, but they have got Hayu Yamakoshi starting inside the top 4, so every chance that the Japanese talent could yet find himself inside that win equation. But it's just as it almost was back in 2021, or it certainly was. Gregoire Saucy representing ART back in 2021, taking victory back then. And Michael Belov, who marks his return to the series and he's been in this series every year since 2021 as well. Michael Belov winning here in race 1 for G4 Racing. Now over 4 seasons ago. We're here for our 5th start. Certainly our 5th visit to this track under the guise of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Let's wait and see who's going to win the race into turn 1 first and foremost to get the first advantage. Obviously, Rashid Al-Dahiri will be hoping that it's him. But of course, remember, Kemmel Straight offers so much, and especially with the 5 push-to passes they have available through the course of the race. Remember, we are going to be undertaking 30 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. RHGP with a nice collective of cars as well, looking to bring about the big results. Enzo Delaney, Jin Nakamura, of course, with Toyota in full support of him after taking part in the Toyota Gazoo Racing Driver Challenge program. With Kamui Kobayashi watching on as he competed back at Misano. Was not around to remember at Misano, indeed, for Jin Nakamura after contact with Freddie Slater would bring an end to both their races in the opening part of the race. Coming through turn 2, it came to a head and both of them barreled out, but we know what Jin Nakamura is capable of. And as I said in qualifying, has taken a very unorthodox route into coming into this championship, but it certainly has worked for him. Super GT back in 2024, before then moving into single-seaters later on in the 2024 Macau Grand Prix. as now they line up onto the grid. On the left-hand side, Rashid Al-Dahiri, Kanato Lay on the right. And just getting that rear stuck out as well was Pedro Clero. So the pace car lines up at the back. We await the green flag from the marshal as it gets waved. As now the lights go red here at Spa. All 5 of them are indeed lit. And it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for Rashid Al-Dahiri, but an even better one, I think, from Kanato Lay, who now will duel down with him in towards turn 1. A lock-up from the 23 of Enzo Tellini as they make their way out of the first corner. Indeed, a little bit of contact, and the Prema car's gone off. Oh, my goodness. And has collected as well the number 20 of Michael Belov on his return to the track. The very location where he would win here back in 2021. Well, it's come to a head, and now he's been held up, and they are now disconnected from the rest of the field. But then ahead of it all, but they're still there. They're still there, and indeed that's Dorian Pan, who unfortunately has come to a very grinding halt here now, but immediately up at the very top, it's going to be the RHGP team now witnessing one of their drivers, Enzo Tellini, hitting the front here at Spa. Rashid Al-Dahiri down in the second, Jin Nakamura also in the top 3 equation. RHGP with a potential big race on their hands here. 1 and 3 currently for Thibaut de Merindol's team. And a wonderful getaway from Enzo Tellini, who hit the podium heights in our last race, in race 1. And now it's falling into his hands once again, and no Freddie Slater this time to stop him. It's Enzo Tellini coming down through Pouon, ahead of Al-Dahiri, who's now into second. Jin Nakamura now in the top 3 as well, and he could make a late play, as well as we're now watching Enzo Peugeot coming under a little bit of scrutiny in his own right from Akshay Bora. Or should I say that's Giovanni Maschio in the 99. Oh no, I was right the first time. Enzo Peugeot in the 74 has managed to displace Akshay Bora. And Bora now looking to chase to get that position back. And now we've had a few changes as well. Safety car has come out, obviously, for the incident at turn 1. Still yet to clear the cars, and that's a very sorry end to the weekend for Dorian Pan, who had a wonderful qualifying session. Let's take a look at the replay again. It was a decent start for Rashid Al-Dahiri, just not as good as Kanato Lay. Enzo Tellini got a massive jump. We saw Jin Nakamura just waving his hands as well to Hayu Yamakoshi as they made their way through towards turn 1. Now, this is where it all happened. The 2 Prema cars actually colliding. Now, I think that might have been Freddie Slater and Dorian Pan coming together just briefly on the escape coming out of turn 1. There is the first Prema car. It might actually have been Jack Beaton who might have come out in all of this. In fact, look, is that 3 cars there just standing at the very start? We didn't see it from our own angle. But it looks like, yes, it was. Freddie Slater was in the mix of that. So there were 3 Prema cars that were bound together that included Jack Beaton. From the angle we had it at turn 1, it only looked like there were 2 cars stranded there right at the front. Michael Belov being one of them, of course, as we spotted at the very start of the race. But Dorian Pan, Freddie Slater coming together along with Michael Belov, just 3 into 1 did not go. And obviously that has left all 3 of them stranded now at the very back, and are now a lap down, and it looks like they're being retrieved as well by the flatbed lorries that have been out in situ over the weekend. Of course, we saw them in qualifying, and they had to retrieve, of course, the rear runners of Gilter, Clero and Nanavid Biran Bakhti. I just want to say a massive start for Pedro Clero and Evan Gilter. Gilter, who started plumb last, now up into 18th place. So a massive gain. That's 10 places gained by Evan Gilter on the opening lap alone. Truly remarkable. So they now make their way through Les Combes. 26 minutes plus 1 lap remain. The timer will still continue to tick under the safety car. But it's Enzo Tellini who now returns to the front, looking for a second podium of the weekend, with Rashid Al-Dahiri in second. Jin Nakamura with a much improved start, certainly to his race week, well, certainly to the Spa weekend, certainly the Spa race. And after recent issues that have plagued him as of late, this is definitely something that he'll cling on to, and still in pursuit of a race win. And obviously under the safety car, this will allow the drivers on the grid or certainly out on track to just close back up to one another, which will make the use of the push to pass very intriguing, that's for sure. There's the 74 of Enzo Peugeot now in 8th place, still ahead of Akshay Bora, Jack Beaton, the sole Prema car now. Well, I say sole Prema car, there is still Rashid Al-Dahiri up at the very top end of things as well. 2 Prema cars inside the top 10. We've got the 2 Premas of Dorian Pan and Freddie Slater now reduced to the rear and obviously being collected by the marshals out on track. But a bizarre moment at the very start, as Mattia De Paolo also gained a couple of places. He started from the realms of 14th as well. He's up into 12th. We've got Ruiki Liu in 13th behind as well, obviously representing Trident, with Enzo Yer down in 14th for RPM. Kita Bedrin for Santaloc as well, just ahead of Massimo Capieto, who debuts here for CL Motorsport this weekend too. Of course, still a question mark as to the direction that CL are going to take going forward in terms of their full driver roster. But in Michael Belov, they pack a lot of experience, and also with Massimo Capieto, who competed in Le Mans 24-hour last year for the very first time. So they now trickle down through towards the bus stop chicane. Enzo Dellini, who for Thibaut de Merindol will look to bring home the big point. Started on the front row ahead of race 1 yesterday. As they come to a relative halt, that is the 22 right there of Dion Gauda. Or Pedro Clero even, I do apologise, moving up through the field into 19th. Of course, teammate Dion Gauda currently the rookie leader in 11th, just on the cusp of the top 10 behind Jack Beaton. Another promising start from him as the safety car takes the drivers through the pit lane just to avoid everything going on in terms of the marshals working at La Source to clear the trio of cars that are stagnant. Coming through turn 1, it looks like they've done a good job of that, so shouldn't be too long before we get back under racing conditions. So shouldn't have to wait too much longer, folks. But in terms of results, doesn't look like the Prema, well, the Prema run could yet continue, but it's going to have to be Rashid Al-Dahiri or maybe Jack Beaton, depending on what could happen through the course of racing here at Spa. Anything can happen at this circuit, as we all know. I mean, if we look back prior to the Alpine partnership in 2019, Frederick Vesti would open up the Prema account for the very first time, did the Dane, with a championship win in 2019. Of course, many champions then followed in the guise of Prema. Gianluca Petikov also doing the same the following year, and that was the first Brazilian before Rafael Camara then later came along and added his name into the championship books as of last season, and now ripping up the FIA F3 championship at the moment for Trident team. Very bold future he certainly has as well, and Trident continue to work on their young talents and now really starting to deliver here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, especially since they got their first win of the new season back at Misano. So we watch as Dellini makes his way down through towards the S section, and confirmation that the safety car will be in this lap, everybody. So good news to all of you at home, and certainly to those watching from the grandstands at the moment. Various fans from across the globe turning up here to the weekend. I can see that Dorian Pan is in the pit lane at the moment, remonstrating with their team, or with her team at the moment, gesturing for a conversation, it would seem. Doesn't look overly happy at the moment, and for good reason, I'm sure. Obviously had a great qualifying session and is absolutely devastated with what's occurred, which is understandable, of course, especially coming in off the back of what happened at Jeddah when she managed to pull off yet another incredible victory after winning it the year before. But she'll be back, I'm sure, when we go to Zandvoort next time around, with Budapest, La Castellet, Imola, Spielberg, Barcelona, Hockenheimring and Monza still to come. As now Enzo Dellini looks to bring the pace down. He will effectively be the safety car as they head down towards the final 2 corners, or the final couple of corners on this very lap before they get back going again under green conditions. Just picking up that pace now, Enzo Dellini. As they exit out of turn 19, the young man from Shanghai, China, 17 years of age, Enzo Dellini, will put pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now. A very good, solid getaway from Dellini. Rashid Al-Dahiri following in behind too. Nakamura lock up straight away. That time from Kanato Lei, and that's opened the door. Gladly taken by Hayu Yamakoshi, who moves up into fifth. Taito Kato also waiting in the wings as well for his own opportunities. Now they fly up through Rouge and Radion. Dellini, Al-Dahiri, Nakamura, Yamakoshi, Kanato Lei as well, who's now looking to try and return the service, now taking a very uncomfortable run is the 89 of Taito Kato, as though they sprint uphill once again. Dellini with the lead for now. Here comes Rashid Al-Dahiri to the outside, looking to now regather the race lead. A lock up from Dellini now as they come up through towards Les Combes, and they both go off track and rejoin, but it's Rashid Al-Dahiri who essentially had nowhere else to go, was almost carried into the off track by Dellini with the lockup that Dellini was carrying, and therefore Al-Dahiri had nowhere else to go but taking the off track. Now he's come back on track in terms of the race lead, but we'll have to wait and see whether race control do ask him to give the position back, but neither driver had conformed to the track limits at that point. Nakamura 4/10 in behind in third, with Hayu Yamakoshi now in fourth, consolidating the place after getting past Kanato Lei, and now Taito Kato looking to take on his teammates as well. They were 3/10 behind, but now a lovely move there from Taito Kato to now move up into fifth place ahead of Kanato Lei. Brilliant work from the young man, Honda supported. And looking ahead here for ART in bid for bigger results. For Matthew Zangarelli, the team principal, and the French team who still have Paul Ricard to look forward to later on in the season, I'm sure will be looking for big results there as well, that the likes of Alessandro Giusti have brought together. Hayu Yamakoshi now looking to the outside of Jin Nakamura, as we now see some side-by-side further back again from the ART drivers, and this invites also Giovanni Maschio, who's having a brilliant race so far, managing to fight his way through the top end of things. We've got a Trident car that's just gone off wide as well. Not quite sure who that was. That might have been Matteo De Parlo, as though we see side-by-side as well further back, the 19 making its way through. Kanato Lei now being chased after by Giovanni Maschio, and Maschio's got a bigger problem because he has got Enzo Peugeot, his own teammate, now gathering in behind him, and he is towing along. Also Akshay Bora, as they now climb the hill coming out of Eau Rouge and Radion, the 19 of Kanato Lei that has already lost out to Taito Kato once already, is now seemingly under pressure, as now Al-Dahiri and Dellini come together this time around as well, and Dellini with the lead of the race as they come in towards Les Combes. The two RPMs now dashing all across the circuit as they venture in side by side, and Giovanni Maschio and Enzo Peugeot locking horns as they do so around the outside from Peugeot as he ventures into the gravel trap, and that will open the door once again for Maschio to consolidate the place. Bora locks up, heading through Rivage. Maschio regathers himself, retakes the place that he lost, and Jack Beaton moves on through. A golden opportunity from the man from the Gold Coast, and he now moves further up inside the top 10 after the mistake from the RPM drivers, and also by Akshay Bora with his lockup as well, heading through Rivage. Big bold moment then from Jack Beaton. Pulled off arguably one of the overtakes of the race back at Misano, overtakes of the weekend, with a succulent switchback coming through the realms of turn 10 and turn 11. Leading in towards Carrow Corner. Now he's looking to flex that overtaking muscle yet again, this time around here at Spa-Francorchamps, to close out the weekend in positive style. That has certainly led to tricky times for Prema, with two cars already evicted from the race. But then they've got one car sat in podium contention with a possible win in their hands. Of course, they've got to get past Enzo Dellini, which is a mission in itself, but never say never when it comes to racing. Once again, Yamakoshi and Nakamura going at it. Yamakoshi registered third fastest coming across the timing line last time out. Also, we've been somewhat distracted by other things going on out on track, but now, as far as Nakamura is concerned, Taito Kato could become the main threat, as indeed down the inside comes the ART of Taito Kato, looking to move up the order inside the top four. Now with 15 minutes and 20 or so to go, they now fly up through a Rouge and Radion once again. Delaney, 6/10 to the good. Ahead of Al-Dahiri, will have push to pass available. Looking to dig a little closer in order to catch up with his lead rival, as they now all fly up in tandem. Further back, there you can see as well the 8 of Matteo De Parlo looking to come into the action too. And once again, we're seeing some more side-by-sides with the what looks to be Taito Kato, Kanato Lei coming wheel to wheel as well. And then comes Matteo De Parlo further back, looking to try and gain a place by dodging past Enzo Peugeot. Was unsuccessful on that occasion. So now fly out of Malmedy downhill through towards Rivage once more. 5 laps concluded already. Oh, and there's a car off there as well. That's Edouard Borgner. Oh my goodness, of course we saw him spin at Eau Rouge and Radion in qualifying. He seemed to recover from that, but he's not recovering from this one, it would seem. And a yellow flag has been raised at turn 5. Coming up through towards Les Combes. And that has left him stranded. So no overtaking at that part of the circuit. Let's see how that unfolded again. A little bit of contact with the Santaloc driver just in behind. That is heartbreak. Heartbreak for Edouard Borgner. Looked like it must have been Tim Gerhards who had caught him. Perhaps might not have been. I have to double check that one again. We could not quite see it from a far away distance. But Borgner currently sits on our timing screen in 22nd place, but now falling down the field. Yes, I believe it was Gerhards, and a safety car has been brought out on track. So for the second time in this race, we are under safety car conditions. Enzo Delaney, over the last lap as well, prior to the safety car, ushered out a purple middle sector, which was 3/10 quicker than Rashid Al-Dahiri in the middle. But all that benefit is all of a sudden taken away with now every single driver falling into Delta. I'm sure that's very frustrating as well if you are Enzo Delaney right now. Looks like we saw a car as well just beckoning his way into the pits. I'm not quite sure who that was. Might have been wrong, but like one did take an excursion off. No, it was Tim Gerhards coming into the box, seemingly after the contact with Edouard Borgner. Of course, Gerhards feeling that he could carry on around the track. Obviously, while under safety car, it's a good time for him to come into the box for an investigation of the car to make sure there's nothing critical on it. I can tell you that the contact with Gerhards and also Eduardo Borgner will be investigated after the race, so nothing will be certainly discussed or announced during the course of the remaining 12 minutes and 20 that we have remaining, plus the 1 lap, of course. But Enzo Delaney now forming up in behind the safety car as they now climb the hill through towards Les Combes. Our race GP still in a very, very good position with Nakamura down in 4th. Obviously still could yet achieve a double podium should this result continue. Much to the delight of Thibaut de Merindol, the team boss at our race GP. And with Delaney's high prominence coming into this, having already been a Red Bull Junior in the past, as they now get to work on removing Eduardo Borgner's car. And the crane now looks to lift it, the flatbed lorry moving in just to get itself ready to receive the car. Enzo Delaney having, as I said before, already serving as a Red Bull Junior in the past since leaving them, and now essentially flying solo, working with our race GP, and it's definitely come into his own this season. Kind of struggled to hit the heights as he has done so in recent times. There was some progressive signs on show at Misano in our first round of the championship. Of course, that led to him certainly receiving some really impressive points. He came off the back of a P10 in race 1, which garnered him a decent result. But then, of course, after that, qualifying 4th ahead of the second race, where, of course, he would hold position and finish 4th. And since then, it's really been an uphill trajectory with a P3 in race 1 here at Spa, and now in race 2, could yet be on the precipice of his first win in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, which I'm sure would mean a lot to young Enzo Delaney. 17 years of age, also a passionate sim racer in his spare time, like many drivers in this grid that have recently been racing together in their own feeder series GP, as they call it. Taking part in iRacing with the likes of Jack Doohan as well as Andrea Kimi Antonelli. So racing is never too far away from the minds of these young talents, even when they're not on race weekends. So we watch as they make their way down through towards the left-hander at Blanchimont. Elsewhere, Evan Gilter gaining yet more places. He's 16th now on this classification. Remember, he started 28th, right at the very back. So that is a phenomenal gain from Evan Gilter. 12 places, and on the back of Enzo Yeh, ahead of Maceo Capietto, who comes in for CL Motorsport for his first weekend back in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Pedro Clero also moving up to 18th place. And Nanavid Bakti moving up to 19th as well. And credit to the two Axel GP drivers, Kulkani and Elmo Cherie, who had problems in their own right after Mo Cherie brought out the red flag in our Q1 session that eventually null and voided every single lap time. Therefore, forming up the first grid of the weekend from collective test 1, leading to Freddie Slater going and starting from pole position. But the story is very different to Slater with his second retirement this season after getting caught by Jin Nakamura back at Misano. Well, this time, caught in with his very own teammate Dorian Pan and also Michael Belov, who returns back to the series, the 23-year-old. After competing in every season of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine since its inception in 2021. And with one win against his name. He was also a pole sitter here ahead of race 2 back in 2021 as well for G4 Racing. So fond memories, that's for sure. Gregoire Saucy going from pole in race 1 to eventually winning race 2. Could say that Michael Belov was his stopping block, really, but looking ahead, ART have a great chance as well. They've still got 2 drivers. Currently sat inside the top 6 with Kanato Lei and Taito Kato in 5th place, and all the drivers coming in from Misano, where they took part in a first driver signing of the season, where they met the fans at Misano during the Aichi Sport weekend, and there's going to be plenty more of those as well. So if you want to get to know your favourite drivers from the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, there'll be many more of the driver signings taking place throughout the season, so please do get involved. And the real brilliance of this championship is that you do get to visit the drivers and get up close and personal to the action out on circuit. And I know from experience, from seeing the likes of Andrea Kimi Antonelli featuring in the paddock, you would get crowds of people gathering outside of the Mercedes Junior, now of course Mercedes Formula 1 drivers' tent at Prema, all requesting pictures and photographs, and he was always very accommodating, as every driver is on this grid as well. But at the moment, with 7 minutes or so to go before we bring the checkered flag down on the Spa weekend, Enzo Dellini still with the race lead, with Rashid Al-Dahiri in 2nd, Hayu Yamakoshi in 3rd. 3 different teams inside the top 3 as it stands, with Nakamura clipping at Yamakoshi's heels, looking for an opportunity to get his first podium of the season. But Yamakoshi looking for his as well, so I can't imagine he's going to go down without a fight, and certainly bringing his best results to the forefront this season, having already scoring double points at Misano in our first round, as now Dellini brings them down towards the bus stop chicane. He's going to leave it a little bit later this time. Not going quite as quick as he did before, as now he makes his way through turn 18. A slight little bit of oversteer creeping in to Dellini as the rear snaps out, as now they make their way down the straight in towards turn 1, and they'll put pedal to the metal for the 3rd time in this race. Now Enzo Dellini getting a good restart, Rashid Al-Dahiri following his every move, as now they move down in towards turn 1. A big look here from Jack Beaton once again as he looks to topple Giovanni Maschio. Big ball manoeuvre there from the man from the Gold Coast in Australia. But I'm sure his father, Justin Beaton, watching on, would have given a big grand golf clap if he managed to pull that one off. We're going to get an early pounce on Maschio, who manages to hold on. and remain in 7th place behind Kanato Lei as they now fly uphill, but we got a battle for the lead now unfolding, and it's not Aldahiri, it's Yamakoshi. Hayu Yamakoshi hits the front, and enter Jin Nakamura as well, as now major changes happen to the front end of the order, and a big spin as well. Rashid Aldahiri making contact with Jin Nakamura, heading through out of Les Combes, through towards Malmedy, and a fleet of places lost. It won't lead to a safety car, that's for sure. Rashid Aldahiri in free fall through this grid, but it's Hayu Yamakoshi who made his way through. Rashid Aldahiri getting caught on the curbs coming out of Rivage as well. There is a kick-up of gravel, but Yamakoshi now looking to consolidate this lead spot. Enzo Dellini dropping 3 places through the long Kemmel Straight alone, but still very much in touching distance of this podium. And as it stands, Yamakoshi will look to take this one right to the checkered flag. But we still have 4 minutes and 30 left to take. Nakamura, who was very much the catalyst in that scrap with Rashid Aldahiri, he's currently sat 3rd with Dellini, now occupying 2nd after losing those 3 places. He's now seemingly recovered them after the skirmish, coming through out of turn 5 and turn 6. Coming through turn 7, Yamakoshi still maintain the lead spot. Dellini now part of a 2-car R-Race GP podium featurette with Nakamura in 3rd, and it's got Taito Kato and Kanato Lei. ART with 2 cars in the mix of all this as well, but also coming into this too is Jack Beaton and Giovanni Maschio in what could be one of his highest finishes in this championship to date. Enzo Peugeot also flying down through towards turn 1. Matteo De Parlo has arrived from the clouds as well, not to mention Nikita Bedrin as they make their way out of turn 1. Matteo De Parlo wheel to wheel now with Enzo Peugeot, and it looks like the Trident driver and winner of our first ever race of the season, or our first race of this season, back at Misano in race 1, has now moved up yet another spot higher than Peugeot into P9. It is Yamakoshi out in front. Jack Beaton, a little bit of movement now as the RPM looks to defend the place against Beaton. This time Maschio full defensive as they come through once again out of Les Combes at turn 5 and turn 6. Matteo De Parlo on the tail of Dion Gauda, the current rookie race leader. Just could not quite plumb for the move yet, De Parlo, as we now come into the final 3 minutes plus 1 lap of asking. Taito Kato looking dangerous on the back of Nakamura. Rashid Aldahiri, who's probably feeling extremely rotten right now, but this will break the Prema trend over the last few years that we have seen here at Spa-Francorchamps, with Yamakoshi looking to deliver a big Van Amersfoort result and his first win for the team in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Enzo Dellini looking and staring at a 2nd podium finish in consecutive races in what will, I'm sure, shoot him up the championship order. So we watch them fly around Corbeil Paul Frere out of Campus and Stavolo. Plenty of other drivers looking to rein in on this as well, including Jack Beaton, who has had a fantastic race as well, ahead of Dion Gauda. 7th place and chasing after Giovanni Maschio. We have some movements as well further up, heading out of the bus stop now. There's Matteo De Parlo, who's now ahead of Enzo Peugeot, as Peugeot has a little look, just opting for a different line as they head in towards turn 18. There's Jin Nakamura. I can tell you that the incident involving 99 to be examined after the race, so that's the Giovanni Maschio moment from earlier on. Fastest lap taken by Enzo Dellini this time. Rashid Aldahiri having a close moment coming out of turn 1. He's currently ahead at the moment of Ruiki Liu. But as they storm uphill, plenty of movements could be in the offing. Plenty of movement further back as well. Maschio, Kanato Lei, but it's the move for the lead that we're all looking towards. And Enzo Dellini looking to plumb for a move here past Hayu Yamakoshi and takes P1 back. So Enzo Dellini returns to the top with a minute plus 1 lap to go. It looks like the next lap will be the final one, as now they descend downwards through Rivage. Jin Nakamura with company as well, with Taito Kato all over his tail. Canato late, 1.2 away from Kato, his teammate at ART. With Giovanni Maschio still very much there as well. 30 seconds remain. Plus, of course, the additional lap they will have to take. There's Enzo Peugeot. Currently sat in 11th. Nikita Bedrin has now moved his way inside the top 10. Akshay Bora in P12. Evan Giltet gaining more places. And now 13th with Aldahiri for company. As he continues ahead of Ruiki Liu in the Trident. Heading downhill. Once more. After descending from the highest point of the circuit. Rounding Corbeil-Paul Frere once more before then heading around Blanchimont. The timer is now 0. One more lap of racing to decide a winner here in race 2 here at Spa. And Delini's going to have to put his best defensive helmet on because Yamakoshi is going to be on the attack, and I would imagine he's probably going to have at least one push to pass available to him that I would imagine he'll plumb for towards the Kemmel Straights. Now Maschio goes defensive again against Jack Beaton. Heading through out of the final 2 corners, black and white flags raised for car 10 for disrespecting track limits. That's Nikita Bedrin, who's been given that warning. A big launch up the inside here now from Taito Kato at the inside of Jin Nakamura in a battle over P3, and now they're going to go wheel to wheel on the run up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion, but Nakamura doing enough to withstand the pressure, retains P3. But there's a major opportunity here now for Taito Kato to grasp a podium with the use of the slipstream heading up through towards Les Combes, and maybe some push to pass as well. A major battle now out here on track over the final podium place. It is still, though, Delini who leads the way. Further back, we're almost 3 wide as well on the run up through towards turn 5 and 6. It is still, though, Taito Kato. He's managed to plumb for the move, and he has taken 3rd ahead of Jin Nakamura. And further back, it's Matteo De Paulo, who has flown from the clouds and has moved up as well well ahead of the RPM car, I believe belonging to Giovanni Maschio, who has now got company from Nikita Bedrin. Jack Beaton is down in 10th as they now circulate through Jackie X corner. Dion Gouda facing heavy scrutiny at the moment in the 55 Van Amersfoort car. Matteo De Paulo right in the thick of this top 10 scrap as they now come into the Lafania chicane. There is the 55 of Dion Gouda. Further back, Jack Beaton, who has lost a couple of places. Rashid Aldahiri, his teammate, going the long way around here. Now this time around against Evan Giltet, looking to take down the ART man, and a race winner from Bacca Misano as well. And I think he's managed to pull it off as well. But here on the final lap, we can't bear not to look to the front because Enzo Delini, who has achieved a points finish in every start so far, but had not taken a podium this season until he arrived here at Spa-Francorchamps in race 1 yesterday. Well, he's going to arrive once more here this time at Spa-Francorchamps as a race winner, as we see a car go off late. That's Jin Nakamura, but Enzo Delini wins for the first time in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. It's a victory here at Spa. And for the first time since Gabriele Bortoleto back in 2022, our Race GP take a victory here at Belgium. Haruya Yamakoshi with a fantastic podium finish. 2nd place for him. A magnificent effort to bring the car home in a very keen fashion. He had not finished on the podium either at Misano. That was a remarkable result. Enzo Delini, your winner here for our Race GP. Their first win since Gabriele Bortoleto in 2022 in race 2 as well. Haruya Yamakoshi in 2nd. Taito Kato for ART in 3rd. 3 different teams on the podium. Jin Nakamura 4th. Kanato Lei in 5th. Dion Gouda in 6th. Matteo De Paulo in 7th. Giovanni Maschio in 8th. Nikita Bedrin in 9th. Jack Beaton in 10th. Enzo Peugeot 11th. Rashid Aldahiri, after the incident earlier on, drops down to 12th place. Evan Giltet finishing just behind him, a massive gain in places. Ruiki Liu then further back with Akshay Bora. Next comes Pedro Clear, who also gained a number of places along with Nandavid Biran-Bakti. Rui Heng-Ye in 18th spot with Maceo Capieto in 19th. Aditya Kulkarni in 20th. Sakir Al-Malshari finishing in tandem for Axel GP. Tim Gerhards in 22nd with Yaroslav Vasalo further back. Arthur Agurta last of the running cars, and we lost Edouard Borgner, Dorian Pan, Freddie Slater and Michael Belov. Fastest lap was indeed taken as well by Enzo Delini, who I'm sure is absolutely thrilled with that result. That was absolutely essential to his campaign, and what can that do to his confidence? What would that do to any driver's confidence after taking a victory in those circumstances? And delight elsewhere as well for young Taito Kato, with a first podium for ART as well here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. His best finish at Misano was 5th place. So quite a rise up the ranks. Hayu Yamakoshi probably minorly disappointed that he wasn't able to take the victory for Van Amersfoort. But nonetheless, after regular points finishes, he is not too far out of contention as far as the championship's concerned. Let's go through the highlights from the race. It was a great start from Rashid Al-Dahiri, but an even better one for the 19 of Kanar Soleil, who eventually dropped down the order, but a big auspicious lunge from Enzo Dellini up the inside. We also saw for the back, Jin Nakamura getting a busy start. This was where the incident happened. Michael Belov getting collected by the two Premers. So it was the two Premers coming together of Freddie Slater and also Dorian Pan that also collected Michael Belov's CL Motorsport car. Kanar Soleil making an error and locking up the brakes, heading through towards turn 1. We then saw a spin with Eduard Borgner getting caught, heading through by a clash with Tim Gerhardt later into the race, and then the battle resumed. We then had Jin Nakamura forming up in behind Hayu Yamakoshi. Unfortunately, Nakamura would make contact with Rashid Al-Dahiri, who would then drop down the field as a result. A late lunge as well from the 89 belonging to Taito Kato, who is looking and chasing a first podium of the season, and for ART as well this season, with also a wonderful move, or a wonderful effort from Jin Nakamura in trying to defend the place, but was unable to do so. But a massive statement drive from Enzo Dellini in pulling together his first win this season in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and a first win at Spa for RSGP since Gabriel Bortoletto in 2022. A real Babe Ruth performance, if you get the reference. Wonderful victory indeed for Enzo Dellini. Hayu Yamakoshi, I'm sure will come a long way from this as well. As again, we've seen some steady improvers ever since Misano, making their way through the championship. And for Enzo Dellini, you can really plot that trajectory as well, because you look back, 10th place in race 1 at Misano, 4th place in race 2 at Misano. 3rd place yesterday here at Spa in race 1, and now with Victor. Since touching the podium, he hasn't left it this weekend. Big points in terms of the championship, and it ushers his name inside this championship tussle. And again, we refer to different winners in every race. That extends that to 4 different winners now thus far this season, which is great for the championship and opens up many question marks. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1 win from each different team. Trident have had a win, ART have had a win, Prema have had a win, and RSGP have had a win. So you can't afford to turn away, folks, from this. Obviously, we're waiting for the podium celebrations to now commence, with Enzo Dellini hoping to take the top step, well, looking to take the top step and receive his winning trophy. Joined by Hayu Yamakoshi, Taito Kato, Dion Gauda, yet another rookie win as well in his back pocket. That is 3 rookie wins in the last 4, with the only other win being taken by Eduard Borgner, who of course fell victim to that spin from Tim Gerhardt at the top of Kemmel, leading through towards turn 5, out of turn 5 into turn 6. But first onto the podium, it's young Taito Kato, the Honda-supported driver. His first podium of the season, and a first podium of the season as well for Hayu Yamakoshi. It's a story of firsts, really. A first win for Enzo Dellini this season as well, and for RSGP this season. And the R-Race representative standing tall as well. And our rookie winner for Van Amersfoort Racing, Dion Gauda, as we now take in the national anthem.
La
Well, maximum points heading Enzo Dellini's way out of race 2. And heading to Zandvoort could be all the more important. The third place trophy presented to Taito Kato. Another young driver with a bright future, along with Hayu Yamakoshi, who will gladly receive the second place trophy. For Van Amersfoort Racing, who have 2 representatives, incidentally, on the podium. We include Dion Gauda's rookie win. And, of course, the overall victory. I'm sure the first of many to come for Enzo Dellini. An astonishing display, grand performance in RHGP. Will lay claim to the winning team's prize. And the winning rookie, Dion Gauda, of course, accepting this one. 3 of them now out of the last 4. Well, they stand on the top step for a official photo to commemorate another fantastic race. And we're all set to go again, of course. Like I said, at Zandvoort, still many races still to come, early days in the championship. But folks, it's been an absolute privilege here to call the action for you at Spa. But from all of us here at the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, we'll see you at Zandvoort. Goodbye.